Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's On the Fly. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo, and my guest this week is the Director of Athletics at James Madison University, Matt Roan. Matt, welcome to our show.
Gene, I appreciate it. It's always good to be with you, and I guess I've seen you since Lead One back in D.C. back in the early fall, so it's good to be with you again today.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Matt, my son, John, graduated from James Madison in the year 2000. He loved it there. And my wife and I loved it there. We couldn't wait to come down through the Shenandoah Mountains and just be there. I don't know anybody that has gone to JMU that doesn't like it. Talk about it, if you would.
No, it's a very special place. Obviously, a tremendous location right here in the heart of the Shenandoah Valley, not far from Richmond, not far from D.C., not far from Roanoke in the southwest part of the state where I grew up. And, Gene, obviously you said your son graduated in 2000. It was about that time that you really saw this campus come out of the ground, right? Be transformed even. And so while his experience was a positive one, I think it's gotten nothing but better since that time. But there is just a unique spirit about this place. Tremendous faculty, staff who care about the success of our student body in general. We have great coaches, we have great staff, but I think the most impressive thing is the fans, right? The alums, the friends of this institution who give back, right? Who invest in our student body, who certainly invest in our programs and our student athletes and the experience that we're trying to provide. There's something in the water. I haven't quite figured it out, but it's a very, very special place and fortunate to be here.
Well, I'll tell you, there is something special about it. And to Saturdays at JMU are really, really special. The
right.
Stadium doesn't look anything like it looked.
Right.
John was there.
Right.
You got big time facilities.
We do.
Hey, let's start with you. The thing I love about you is you came up through the ranks, and you know what? Nobody gave you anything. You earned everything you got, and that was really, really impressive. Talk to us about where you went to Hargrove Military and then on to Virginia Tech, and what values you got there, and how you worked your way up.
Yeah, so that's probably a pretty long answer, and so again, grew up in this state. Like a lot of others, I was, I guess, under-recruited. Probably a reason for that. I was a late developer, I guess you would say. And so I made the decision to go to Hargrave Military Academy. And as our coach used to tell us there, Robert Prunty, who was most recently the head football coach at Hampton University, everybody goes to Hargrave for a reason, whether you're trying to be an academic qualifier, whether you're looking for more exposure, whatever that may be. And tremendous experience there. Learned a lot, right? Learned how to work hard, how to manage my time as a student away from home for the very first time. And so when the opportunity came to go to Virginia Tech, it's one that I jumped 2 feet into and without really asking a lot of questions, and loved my time at Tech, but realized if I wanted to play as early as possible, right, the decision to transfer was probably the best decision that I could make. And I had battled a viral infection prior to my decision to transfer and had lost about 50 pounds in a summer. And so ultimately made the decision to move on, and had a great career at Southern Utah, where I finished up and wanted to play as long as I possibly could. But Gene, to your point, I have had tremendous people. I'd be remiss if I neglected to say that, right? I have tremendous people who have poured into me, who have provided opportunities to me, really early on in my career. And it's what it's allowed me to ultimately be where I am right now. But knew that I wanted to advance my education, to take it as far as I possibly could. And so I enrolled in law school and had a great experience there at the University of Kentucky. And we have that in common, our experience with Big Blue. Worked in the football program, worked in the athletics department, specifically academic and tutorial services there. And then Mike Benson, who was the president at the time at Southern Utah, had been the president during my last year of eligibility out there. offered me the opportunity to come back in a pretty unique role, a President's Council Fellowship, where I got to do work for him and special projects, but also everybody that made up his President's Council. And so that really exposed me to higher education generally. And then naturally, I realized that the population that I love to work with were coaches, staff, and student athletes. And so he gave me the opportunity, and Ken Beezer gave me the opportunity to be his deputy AD and to really focus on a lot of the external things. And so Mike then got the job at EKU. And so going there with him was a no-brainer. I hated leaving my alma mater after relatively short stay there, but getting back to Kentucky, getting closer to my home in Virginia on the East Coast, made all the sense in the world. And set for the Kentucky bar at that time, passed the Kentucky bar at that time, and then made the decision to really focus on athletics and had the chance to be a deputy AD there at EKU again for about 2 years when an opportunity presented itself at Nicholls State University. And a good friend of mine, Richie Riley, was the head men's basketball coach at Nicholls at the time, who told me about the job, who certainly, I think, advocated for me to get the job. I got that job when I was 32 years old because of, again, great people on that campus and that community. We had a great run there for 3.5 years. Was fortunate to be invited back to EKU because of, again, the people in that campus or on that campus in that community. We had a great 4+ year run there. And then ultimately the decision was made. The opportunity presented itself to come home to JMU. And personally and professionally, this is a tremendous fit and honored to be here.
The two people that I spent as much time with on campus during my time as AD was legal counsel and the director of development.
Right.
And those are two areas that are critical for directors of athletics. I think it's a big advantage for you to have a law degree and to be able to see some things that some of us weren't able to see as ADs from a legal standpoint. How does that help you?
Well, I will say one of the best decisions that I think I ever made was the decision to go to law school. And I'd like to think that it was kind of a strategic decision, but in a lot of ways, it was a decision born out of confusion, right? When I knew I couldn't play anymore, I knew that I wanted to be involved in sports, Gene, but I didn't quite know yet in which capacity. And so as I kind of figured that out, I thought, well, why not go to law school, right? That opens up doors to many different things, whether I wanted to be an agent, whether I wanted to work in a front office of an NFL franchise, if I ultimately wanted to get on a college campus. And one, I'll say being on a college campus, being in Lexington, it confirmed to me that, being a part of a team and being a part of, trying to impact young people's lives is what I felt compelled to do. It's what I felt as a purpose. When you talk about the legal education in and of itself, I look back now and I realize I thought differently before law school and I communicated very differently before law school. And so I think, just those two things, the ability to look at a situation and to think about it sometimes not just two ways, but 3, 4, 5 ways. Now you have to be careful with that to not slow you down in kind of your decision-making processes and how you move forward. But I have a tendency to look at things from myriad different angles, right? Myriad different viewpoints, and probably considering the risk of every single one of those when I make those decisions or when I analyze those things. But I always tell people the one thing that law school really, really helped me with was the ability to communicate both orally and in written form. How again, when you talk about development, how I'm talking to donors, right? How I write to donors, how I do all of those sorts of things, how I inform the people that I work on this campus with, right? Certainly the people that I work for on this campus are affected by my decision to go to law school and the things that I learned there at UK.
No, I think that's a heck of an advantage. When you come into a new place, Matt, you're always drinking out of a fire hose for the first year or so. What has been some of the challenging things that you've faced in your first year or so here at JMU?
That's a really good question. I give credit where credit is due. I came into a phenomenal situation, Gene, and the infrastructure that is in place, the fact that even though this academic year is our first full official year as an FBS member after that 2-year transition period in the Sun Belt, JMU has acted like and operated like an FBS institution, a well-funded, resourced FBS institution for a decade or more, right? And so a lot of that credit goes to my predecessor, Jeff Bourne. And so coming in again with the infrastructure that was in place, with the people that we have in place, that allowed me to learn, to look and to listen and to do all those sorts of things, and form my own thoughts and offer suggestions, but without having to make critical decisions within the first few weeks or months. Like anybody else around the country, I would imagine the house settlement and planning for kind of this new model and what that looks like on each one of our respective campuses has dominated a lot of my time, a lot of my thought, and certainly making sure that I'm informing my president, my counterparts on campus, our board, making sure that there's tremendous alignment for what we've enjoyed these last several years, but that there's also tremendous alignment for where we go next. And so that's like anybody else that's dominated a lot of my time and making sure that we're well positioned for success in the future.
The Sun Belt, wow, what a tough league this really
Great league.
is.
It's a great league.
The A lot of the teams from other conferences all came into the Sun Belt, and I was talking to some of the coaches recently, and
Yeah.
boy, every game is a real head knocker, and there's no easy games in the Sun Belt.
No, there's not. And again, I'll give a ton of credit to our board of presidents. I'll give a ton of credit to our commissioner and his staff. We've got a good thing going on right now. 14 programs, 10 contiguous states, really prioritized rivalries. And I think a part of those contests, right? Challenging games, tough to win at home and on the road. It's because you have those built-in rivalries. You have fans that are able to travel from one place to another. We've really prioritized divisions and kind of how we schedule and a lot of the decision making that happens there. But tremendous league, tremendous leadership in that league, and we're fortunate to be a part of it. And it's a challenge to try to win in this thing as well.
Yeah. How's your basketball team doing? I know your football team has been so successful. Basketball struggled for a while, but lately's been really good, hasn't it, Matt?
Yeah, so Coach Preston Spradlin was hired about 3 or 4 weeks before I was, if that, right? We were pretty proximate in time to one another. Preston had to rebuild his roster, and having gone through this before and been around really successful basketball programs, you can have a collection of talent, but you don't always have a team. And I think you saw our team start to be formed in November, in December, and then come conference play in January, we kind of were hit and miss there early on, but we're winners of 5 in a row. What you're seeing at the top of our standings right now is one team with 3 losses in the league, and then 5 teams tied for second, us being one of those, with 4 losses in the league. And so as we've changed our bracketing this year to really protect the 1 and 2 seeds, where they're automatic buys into the semis and the 3 and 4 automatic buys into the quarters, making sure that you're in that top 4 is really important. And with, I guess, 6 games to go, we put ourselves in great shape there. And then on the women's side, we are 12-0 in the league. So we are a game ahead of second place as we sit in first. We've lost 4 games on the year. We won our 20th game on Wednesday night. Big challenge tomorrow with Ball State coming in here as part of the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. But really feel like both of those programs, our men's and our women's basketball programs, are set up to contend for regular season, hopefully conference tournament championships and March Madness postseason play.
Yeah. On another subject, having been a director of athletics in the ACC, there were some FCS teams that you wanted to play, and James Madison was never one of those. I'll be honest with you. I loved my son and all that, but there was no way I was going to schedule JMU. Is it tough for you to get games in football?
It is tough for us to get games, and again, every AD will tell you that our best friend is Dave Brown. Dave helps us all tremendously with scheduling and what he does there with his gridiron business. But um, it has proven to be a little bit more difficult. I think after we went down to Chapel Hill this past year and won that game, and we're looking out from 28, 29 and beyond. It is a challenge, but there's a lot of great football teams, and we'll find the right fits for us.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. When you put 70 on somebody, uh, you think it's going to be easy to get games?
It's proven a little bit more difficult.
I'll watch that game, because Mac Brown has been a longtime friend of mine. I think we've been friends since '76, and of course, I love JMU because of John. But yeah, that was quite a game. Who do you have next year? Non-conference.
So our non-conference, I'm actually looking at it right here. We'll hopefully be announcing our conference portion here in a few weeks, but we open up with Weber State, former FCS rival, right here at home. And then we go to Louisville in week 2, to Liberty in week 4, and then the Saturday before Thanksgiving, we'll play host to Washington State here in Harrisonburg. So that'll be a
Wow.
yeah, we're excited about
Oh, that's a great game to have in Bridgeport Stadium.
Yeah, we were able to put that together. Again, Washington State needed games. We were able to work with several other schools to get Washington State to come to us. We put that together this past fall, so happy about that one. I know our fans are excited about it.
That's a terrific job, man. That's a terrific job. The other thing that John used to complain about was he used to say, "Dad, this place is hard academically." He said, you know, you he said, "We came here to play football and all, and we to get an education." He said, "Wow, it's hard to get through here." So, and I know he's just like most kids, he's moaning and groaning near exam time and all that, but uh, you're a really good school academically. And look at the schools in Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, UVA, William and Mary, and Richmond, and JMU, and Virginia Tech. I mean, you got a great, great state system.
No, we do. There is an investment that is made in higher education. Certainly, we appreciate all of our friends and leaders in Richmond for making the investment that they do in higher ed. And yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about the value of a JMU degree, it is valuable, right? People respect and appreciate our alums, and they've gone out and they've been very, very successful. And a part of that success, I think, is the rigor of the education that they receive here. And so for us, we want to make sure that we're mimicking as a part of this institution, that we're in line with the mission of this institution, which is just that, to prepare our students to have very, very successful careers and to be leaders in whatever community that they serve beyond their time at JMU. And so we make sure that we prioritize that, and we're very, very proud of our APR, our GSR, our federal graduation rates, both again with our student body and among our student athlete population. Our GPAs are incredibly high. Our teams prioritize this notion of being a student athlete in its proper order.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I've got to ask is the housing that John lived in his junior and senior year was outstanding. They were brand new, I guess you'd call them apartments or townhouses or whatever, but you'd walk through the front door and there was a bedroom here and a bedroom here and a huge kitchen type area, Matt, with a living room. And then there were 2 bedrooms at the other end. And they had a 2 baths, one at each end. Of all my kids, that was certainly the best living experiences. Do you still have a lot of that?
We have tremendous infrastructure, tremendous facilities that exist here, and our current president, a guy by the name of Mr. Charlie King, was the senior vice president for finance and administration. I tell him all the time his fingerprints are all over this campus, and he was a big part of that redevelopment of the physical plant that exists here. And now that he's back serving as the president, he's still trying to do those things, right? There's still plans being made for what's next. And I think that extends even beyond campus. When I drive home every single day on Port Republic Road, tremendous apartments and townhouses and condos. I mean, there's just Harrisonburg is JMU and JMU is Harrisonburg. There's just great synergy that exists between those. There's a lot of off-campus housing right next to campus. And Gene, it's a great place to go to school. It's a great place to work and play.
It really is. I wish I was 18 again.
That's right.
Hey, we got to talk about Coach Chesney for a minute. Now, Coach Chesney is a Massachusetts guy, and he was extremely successful at Salve Regina. Is extremely successful at Assumption. He gets a chance to go to Holy Cross, and he does a terrific job there. And now you've hired him at JMU, and what a year you had. You got to be happy with him.
Again, incredibly happy, incredibly fortunate. I mentioned inheriting Preston Spradlin, and no doubt that he's going to win and win big here, but inherited Bob as well. And no doubt that he's going to be a successful coach here. I love that he's been at those places, right? Whether it's Preston coming from Moorhead to here, or Bob, Salve Regina, Assumption, Holy Cross to here, myself, Nichols, EKU to here. There's a lot of similarities, I think, in each of our paths. And I think through those similarities, we've all just kind of hit it off, right? We've all become fast friends and work incredibly well together. But what I have been most impressed with Bob is a great evaluator of talent. And I think that's the staff that he surrounds himself with, and the players that are on the field. He, like Preston, had a big rebuild. We lost a lot of talent from that 23 team, and to go 9-4 this past year, and of those 4 losses, right, those things could have gone either way. And so while we're very, very proud of the season that we had, nobody wishes that we could have those 4 back more than Bob. But a tremendous evaluator of talent, a developer. I think he makes his coaches better. I think that he makes our players better for having played for him, both athletically, personally, academically, and has really embraced this community as well. Him and his family, 3 small kids, him and his wife, Andrea, that are pretty close to my kids' age. They've gone 2 feet in here in Harrisonburg and Rockingham County, and just become a part of this community. And it makes it incredibly easy to support somebody like that.
No, that's great. Last question, Matt. There's been more change in college athletics, I think, in the last 3 years than there has been probably in the last 50 to 100 years. How is JMU reacting to some of the changes in college athletics?
Yeah, Gene, the way I've said it, there's always been change, right? But it feels like there's more change more rapidly than maybe there ever has been before. And again, I feel like we're operating from a position of strength as we've gone about, our offerings. First, we wanted to protect and continue to be a broad-based athletics program, prioritizing championship expectations for all 18 of our programs. And so when you look at the scholarships, the financial aid that's available to every one of those programs, everybody is staying at least where they are, if not moving forward, and some moving forward faster than maybe others. When you look at our rev share plan, figuring out what is the number that works for us, that certainly leads in the Sun Belt Conference, but also is consistent with some of our national peers, right? Those people that we want to compete with for access to the CFP and to compete with for access into NCAA postseason competition and advancing in that competition. And we feel like we're doing just that. But, a value for us is we wanted to be additive, right? We didn't want to have to take away from what it is that we do incredibly well and stop doing things that really have kind of set this place apart. And you mentioned facilities. We're going through our master plan process. When you talk about the resources that are available to our programs, we wanted to be able to continue to give our coaches the tools that they need to be successful. And so as we've navigated this, certainly, change brings about challenge, but it also brings about opportunities to continue to position ourselves where we want to be, and that will hopefully deliver the expectations and the results that our fans have grown accustomed to and expect.
With you and your president and your board, you're going to do just fine, my friend.
I hope so.
Well, we're out of time for this week's On the Fly. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo. And our guest has been Matt Roan, the Director of Athletics at JMU. And Matt, really appreciate the wonderful job that you are doing at JMU and the wonderful job you did on today's podcast. So thank you very much.
Gene, I appreciate it. Again, it's great to be with you in this role, and I appreciate everything that you poured into college athletics, right? You made it what it is today, and ours is the opportunity to make it what it will be tomorrow. So I appreciate you and what you did, and certainly what you're doing now.
Well, thank you. And to our fans out there, thanks for your time this time, and we'll see you next time.